Okay, let's go. I'm going to wind up the interview with myself and yourselves by just a glossary from both of you with what's happened recently with CONOR Benn and obviously your son as well, Chris. This has been a tough time for both families, for both camps, for both boxers. The way this has reverberated through the sport of boxing as well, and there's been a lot of bad things flying in all directions, and obviously I understand there's still investigation to go, but I would like your take on where this is at right now and where you think it should end.
Well, first of all, I'll start off. I know my son. I'm 59 years old. I train twice a day, every day. I'm a dedicated person. Anything I put my mind to, I do. I'm saying, me and my peak, I'm here. My son Conor in his fitness regime is already here. Completely different. If my son ever took a performance-enhancing drug, I'm sorry to say, I'd hang him out. I'd say, you know what, son? I'd say, son, I love you, but you're on your own. But I know my son. He's got my DNA. He's got my DNA. And if my son, he would never do that. But there's so much that's going to come out now, and the only thing I can say, I just pray to God that the apology is as loud as the way that they've already convicted him. Now, one thing I've got to say, it's so funny, me and Chris, we were doing talks we were doing a Zoom call, and Chris was saying to me that my son can't make the weight, my son can't do this, my son can't make a 157. And I said, I didn't choose the weight. Your son chose the weight. And so me and Chris was going back and forth. And Chris was so adamant about him not making the weight.
So, as you guys heard in that segment, that was Nigel Benn. Nigel Benn's take. He finally breaks silence. You know, we've heard Chris Eubank Sr. say what he said concerning the people, the puppets, the people that was in charge of his son and Nigel's son. And he made some threats. He said what he felt. He said what he was going to do. Okay. And we also just heard him say where his level was versus, as we saw and heard, that where his son performance is at, he was here, his son is here. And if he ever took anything, he's going to hang him out to dry. And then he continued, of course, with, but my son will never do that. And I hope everyone, when everything comes out, and everything will come out, when it's all said and done, I want the apology to be, as big as the accusations. And, my son will never do that. Well, me counterpunching Nigel Benn, whatever comes out, since he has that strong stance on his son, it's his son. He's supposed to. But since he does, and if it does come out, will he accept, or will he believe the outcome, the verdict, the results? I mean, the results are already there, but will he accept the reality of the matter? And this is how I think of it. We've heard CONOR Benn say, hey, I accept an apology when I'm cleared. And then you heard Nigel Benn, of course, say the same thing. Okay. Well, we also heard Nigel Benn also say, well, hey, I will hang my son out to dry will he have that same energy if that does come back? Because the last thing you ever want to hear or ever want to really admit that your son, somebody that is a part of you, is cheating, is doing something to that magnitude, that's something that he claims that he never done. So that's beneath him. So if his son finds out to be beneath him, it comes out that that's the case, will he have that same energy and hanging his son out to dry? So that cuts both ways. Just not the way of, well, hey, I know my son is this, so when it does come out, I'm assured of it. Hey, have that same energy, apologize to my son, which everyone should have. Okay? But if it doesn't turn out in his favor, will he believe it? Will he be in denial? Will he accept it when it does happen? Will he trust what they come up with to be the correct verdict? Will that happen? That's the question I ask. Now, before I ended that particular segment, he was talking to Chris Eubanks Sr., and he was saying, well, Sr. was telling him, hey, your son can't make 157. And he was like, well, your son picked the weight. So you can see there is a back and forth already with this, with what's going on. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to continue so we can get a better, to go through this to see what really is said between Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn. Okay, the original OGs, the original born rivals. Okay, so we're going to get back at it. And let's go.
It's going to hurt him. He won't be strong. And I'm going to stop this and I'll stop that. I thought to myself, but it was your son that made the way. And we kept on going on, kept on going on, kept on going on. And then I saw a picture of Chris Eubanks Jr. You'll find it on the net or whatever in the papers. And I looked at the picture and I saw him. His face is not there. And his body is emaciated. And I sent Chris a text saying, sorry, Chris, I didn't realise what you were saying. And I asked Chris, I said, please forgive me, Chris, because I honestly believe if my son had fought Chris now, I believe CONOR would have hurt him just like what happened to John McClellan. And I know my Heavenly Father said, it's not going to happen. It wasn't nobody stopped it. But I believe Jesus stopped this fight happening because I don't want nothing on my son's head saying like, you know what, you made it, you're on drugs. God's saying, this is not happening. Not until I clear my son's name. Then, and I said to CONOR, if you do fight him, he's not fighting at 157. I want you to fight him at 160.
So, Nigel Benn continues, and as he was explaining, as you guys can see, that he's just openly admitting, apologizing to Chris Eubanks Sr. because that was Senior's complaint. Listen, my son shouldn't be at that weight. The rehydration clause is not right. It's not safe. And I've seen this before, and we're all familiar with it. That's what he was saying. And Chris, yes, no doubt, he asked for the weight, or he, came up with the weight, but the weight is not safe. And like you heard him and seen him say that if CONOR would have fought him, he would have hurt him. Well, me counterpunching that to end this particular video, because it is a little long. If CONOR, again, was taking something on top of how they claim Chris Eubank looking like Devin Haney, bone face, not even looking like himself, looking like a zombie, okay, from Fear the Walking Dead or Walking Dead zombie, yes, he would have hurt him. Because you got a juiced up, smaller guy that's bulking up, angry, hyped, strong, powerful, under the influence of what, God knows what, then fighting a guy that shrunk himself down, his fluids are gone, everything else is missing, his weight's missing, he's not as strong. Then he's getting into it, and he's getting in there with CONOR Benn. And then he's on top of that, he's jacked up on some type of PED, of course. But yes, I see what he's saying. The weight alone would cause complications and a disadvantage to Chris Eubank. So they're blaming Junior for accepting the weight or asking for the particular weight. And if it's going to be a fight, it's going to be at 160. But if it's going to be at 160, you got to be fair about it too. At least let CONOR Benn get that weight. But they might be running out of time. Because if CONOR Benn's not of middleweight, that's like De La Hoya going to fight Bernard Hopkins, even though that was at a catch weight. That's like Trinidad going up to 160 to fight Bernard Hopkins, and that wasn't at a catch weight. That's like a lot of fighters going up to 160, and they're not the same type of fighters no more. Okay, but this rehydration clause is a dangerous blow. It is a dangerous situation, But it was good to see these two legends get together and state the case, state the claim. And I'm glad to hear from Nigel Benn. You guys tell me what you think about Nigel Benn's claims that he will hang his son out to dry if he is or was taking performance-enhancing drugs of any kind. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!